So President Biden came out and did a speech, and when he did, he just laid into Donald Trump. He took the gloves off, and I was so glad to see it. Folks, we're at the point in the game now where I really think everyone should just take the gloves off with Donald Trump because he does not deserve our respect. And the people propping him up at this point in the game, they don't deserve our respect either. Let's just be realistic about it. They truly don't. Here's a guy who is a failed former president. He was voted out because he was a failure. He refused to accept defeat. He sicked his followers on the nation's capital. Tried to overturn an election that he knew he lost. Now he's coming back for a rematch. And look at the damage that he's done just since then. And here he is back winning a rematch, making all these demands, acting like he's the one still in charge. We're so sick of this ridiculous, tired act. And we're so sick of this guy acting as though he cares about working people. I've been saying this since I sat down in these chairs to start talking about these things. Donald Trump does not care about working class people in my part of the world. And how in the world that they ever got duped into believing that, other than he just appealed to their hatred and empowered them to be pricks? There's no other reason why that you should ever get behind this guy, because this dude has never worked an honest day in his life. All he ever did was blow his daddy's money, and I love when Biden points that out.
Any notion what a hard day's work is. I mean, all he did was lose his father's money. And then get in trouble and have to owe a lot of other people money. And then borrow a lot of money and give tax cuts to the super wealthy and end up with the largest debt any president's left behind in 4 years. He has an incredible record. An incredible record.
I can tell you this, if Donald Trump grew up in my hometown, everybody in my hometown would hate the guy, except his few rich buddies. They'd love him. But the people that I grew up with would absolutely despise someone who grew up, was handed everything on a silver platter, and blew it all, went out there, got themselves in all sorts of trouble, and had to go out here and grift and, cheat and steal every step of the way. If he was anybody else, if he was just someone they grew up with, they would absolutely detest him. But because he comes out and empowers them to say the quiet parts out loud, they love the guy. And I'm going to keep circling back to that point, because what other reason could it be? It can't be because he truly is a working man. It can't be because he ever walked down a dirt road in his life. It can't be because he's got calluses on his hands. It can't be because he's got sweat on his brow. When has this guy ever done the basic day-to-day living that people in my part of the world has done? When has he ever took a neighbor to a doctor's appointment? When has he ever visited a neighbor when they were sick? When has he ever went over and helped a neighbor out when they were going through an operation, went over and mowed their yard for them? When's he ever gave them a ride to work? When has Donald Trump ever went out of his way to help anyone other than himself? He is nothing like the people in my part of the world, and the only reason they root for him is because he told them it was okay to say the N-word. That's just it. There's nothing else it could be, because if he grew up in my hometown and was just a spoiled brat, and I know some, I'm not going to name names, but for those of you that grew up where I do, you know those rich spoiled brats that you want nothing to do with. You know those ones that you won't go to their churches. You won't hang around them because daddy gave them everything and they blew through daddy's money, and you don't want to be around them. So why do you want to be around Donald Trump? Make it make sense. You can't, other than he empowered you to be cruel on social media. That's all he got. That's all he gave you at the end of the day. And he took away your daughter's future, and he gave his rich buddies a tax cut. That's it. That's his claim to fame. And every step of the way, he mocked veterans. And right here, Joe Biden did his most epic takedown of that. Take a look.
Doesn't get it. He refused to visit an American cemetery in France that I was just near, because according to his own chief of staff, a 4-star Marine general, Trump said those servicemen buried there are suckers and losers. My son died because of a year in Iraq. I'm just happy. I mean this in front of my heart. I'm glad I wasn't there. I think I would have done something. No, I think you would have too. They're heroes. He's the sucker. He's the loser, the way he talks.
So let's circle back to this point one more time. If Donald Trump was someone who grew up in my hometown around the people I grew up with, and they caught wind that he called veterans suckers and losers, they would never have nothing to do with him again. If they had have heard him be disrespectful to prisoners of war and say they weren't heroic because they got caught, I promise you they would not go around that guy. They only let Trump by with this stuff because he empowers their hatred. That's it. And it really cracks me up when they say, oh, I can't believe Donald Trump would ever say those things. Well, you guys go to his rallies and you buy shirts that says those things on it. And you stand up and wave flags that says those things on it. You wear diapers to his rallies. You put bandages on your ears. You're freaking weird, okay? You're flat out weird. And you think that he's incapable of saying something like that? And it would be one thing if, let's say, Donald Trump just had one thing that he had said, one controversial statement about vets. Let's just say that the John McCain statement was the end of it. And he came out after it was over and was like, listen, I got worked up, got a little mad, said something about John McCain. I shouldn't have said it. I have the utmost respect for our veterans. I have the utmost respect for people who have been captured. I meant nothing by it. Sorry, guys. And then there had never been any other case where he ever did it again. You might could get past that. You might could be like, well, okay, guy got aggravated, guy got mad, said something out of anger. We've all done it. Okay, whatever. But no, he just keeps doing it. He's got more than one. It's not just the John McCain statement. He's got more than one that he keeps having to go back and talk about. And every time he does, though, he never actually says that it's always the way he always portrays it as well. Why would I say that? But only an idiot would say that. It's never really, I didn't say that. It's just always, it's a fake news hoax. It's this and that. But it'd be one thing if he just had the one comment to defend, but he's got all these comments to defend. Colin dodging STDs, his personal Vietnam. Having someone give him a Purple Heart and saying, oh, this is much easier. Saying that the Presidential Medal of Freedom was better than the Congressional Medal of Honor because no one had to actually earn it or get hurt to get it. Going and doing his stage op at Arlington Cemetery. Look at all these things the guy's got. So, again, I don't think you support Trump because he respects veterans, and I don't think you have an ounce of respect for him either. If you're still supporting Donald Trump at this point in the game, there's no way you could have respect for the military and for the vets. It's just impossible to me because that guy's got too much baggage. And again, when I see y'all defending it, it just comes off to me like, well, this guy empowers our hatred, so we're going to hang with him. That's all there is. And the funniest part about this whole thing is when this is all over and he loses and you're trying to pick up the pieces, I know there's going to be people that will forgive him before they ever forgive people like me. They're going to hate people like me and the Midas Touch Network and all the content creators out there who's tried to say it over the years. They're going to hate us for pointing it out. But that's okay. Go right ahead. Because I would much rather be here on the right side of history if I never hear from you, see from you, speak to you again. If you walk past me in a dollar store and won't look at me, that's okay. I would much rather know I was on the right side of history than defending that clown, especially coming from where I came from. Especially growing up with a dad who was a truck driver. I saw him come home from work every night. My dad was an over-the-road truck driver. He drove coal trucks and log trucks in this part of the world. He'd come home covered every day in sawdust and grease and oil and coal dust, you name it. You could literally smell my dad coming through the front door. You could smell the heat coming off of it. And you could smell the dirt and the mud coming off of him as he came through the door. He's one of the hardest working people I ever met in this world. And I never saw him get behind the Republican Party. Not once. Why? Because he realized they were duping people like him. And people that worked right alongside him, and I'm not saying they didn't work hard, they did. Somehow they got suckered into believing that this guy gave a damn about them, and he don't. The only thing he gives a damn about, the only thing you give a damn about is him empowering you to be a prick. But if he was anybody else, and for those of you that ain't from my part of the world, whatever small town you're sitting in right now, just picture that spoiled, rich brat that was the richest guy in town. Daddy done everything for him. And think about how you couldn't stand that guy. And then explain to me how they can love Trump. And tell me I'm wrong when I say it's only because he empowers them to be cruel.